Hello and welcome back for another Torah Tuesday. Today we're continuing in our series on the image of God, and I want you to consider with me the way our imaginations can shape our understanding of the biblical text and have practical implications. So I already mentioned in a previous video that the first human, the Adam or the human, was made from the ground, the Adamah. He is in a verdant garden, and he's being made from the soil. And I'd like you to think for a moment what color his skin would be if he was made from the soil in a rich garden. We can assume that the soil is rich and black. If you Google Adam and Eve and look for images of this first couple, you will find the vast majority of artistic depictions of Adam and Eve are white. They have white skin, sometimes even blonde hair and blue eyes. But if you read the biblical text, the most natural thing to assume is that the first human had very deep brown skin. He is a human from humus or hummus. He is an earthling from earth. He is a Adam from Adamah. One exception in art history is this amazing book from this. It's volume 1 of the St. John's Bible on the Pentateuch, and I want to show you their image of the first humans. Here is how they depict Adam and Eve. I love the way they've depicted them with deep brown skin because it makes the most sense of the biblical text. It seems to me to be the most faithful way to render it. Art can warp our imaginations as well as cultivate them, so we need to be careful how we use and how we think about art. Translations can also complicate things and make our understanding distorted. So while the first human is made from the Adamah, the ground, the second human is made from the Adam. So God puts the first human into a deep sleep, and then we're told, most English translations tell us that God removed a rib from Adam, and from that rib he created Eve. But in fact, that's not precisely what the Hebrew says. The word that is usually translated rib is the Hebrew word selah, which everywhere else is translated as side, not rib. The side of a door, the side of the Ark of the Covenant. It's part of its architecture, but it seems to be bigger than just one bone. Later in the chapter, when the man meets the woman for the first time, he says, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," acknowledging that they share essential unity, essential material with each other, not just a single bone, but also his flesh as well. So I find really intriguing how Wilda Gafney reads this text in her book Womanist Midrash. Wilda says that the first human is essentially split in two, and that half of the first human is used to make the second human. And I keep calling them humans rather than naming them because the biblical text does not name them until after their rebellion. Before the rebellion, they're called Adam, or human, and the second human is called Isha, woman. So they're man and woman, but they're not named Adam and Eve until later. So when the man exclaims, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," he is exulting in the fact that what was separated at creation has now been rejoined in the institution of marriage. I find it interesting that this all happens while the man is sleeping. He's passive in the creation of woman. God is the one doing the creative work, and the man receives her as a gift. She's a helper suitable for him. We already talked about the Hebrew word ezer in a previous video, that this is a military term indicating that she will be his ally or partner. The word right after ezer is kened go, corresponding to him. They are essentially equal. Verse 25 tells us that there is no shame. They're both naked, but they're unashamed. They have nothing to hide from each other because they have been unified. Their recognition of nakedness comes after disobedience to God's command in chapter 3, verse 7. That's when they begin to hide from God and from each other, to blame God and to blame each other. So it's in that moment that the essential kinship between God and humans and between human and human is fractured. But at the end of chapter 3, in verse 21, we're told that God clothed them and sent them away to prevent further damage. This is an incredible depiction of the grace of God. It does not undo the consequences of their sin, but God provides a way for them to move forward. The idea is that eventually full reconciliation will happen when God makes all things new, and ultimately they would become comfortable in their own skin again and comfortable with one another. So I'll just leave you with this thought. The way we imagine the biblical text has implications for race and gender relations. Sometimes our default imagination has been so shaped by the art that we've seen in children's storybooks and on the walls of our churches and in movies even, that we fail to see what's there. And what I see in Genesis 2 and 3 is the story of God creating a man and a woman who share partnership with each other and whose bodies are a deep brown. That is, the default for humanity is not white, but is dark, and it's only later that white skin develops. That should make us stop and ask why so often we think of white as the default and other skin colors as an aberration from that default. That's not how the Bible presents the issue of race. This is food for thought. I hope you dig back into the text and see new things for yourself. If you discover something as you're reading, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching and for sharing this with your friends. Have a great week.